So, are we gonna get a climactic rock opera for Sonic 3 as well, or... Hey, it's Ali, welcome back to my channel, and I'm back in this chair with a bare face, and you know what that means. I am dying of finals. It's final season. I'm dying, and anytime that I need to like turn my brain off and just rant or talk about something, I feel like doing my makeup is the perfect time to do that. And recently, I've found the perfect show to just girl rot in bed for like 3 hours. And that is The Knuckles Show. So in case you didn't know, a sequel follow-up miniseries show to the first two Sonic movies came out called Knuckles. It is a, I was about to say it's about Knuckles, but it kind of isn't, and we'll get to that in a second. But it is kind of, in my opinion, a way to creatively write Knuckles out of this universe for the time being so that they can go on to Sonic 3 and Knuckles not be in that movie. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that as well. I really want to talk about the show. It's insane. It is dumb in the best way possible. Like, the best way possible. It is 3 hours. Every episode is 6 episodes, 30 minutes each. It is a turn your brain off, rot in bed type of show. And I love it. This show is absolute nonsense, and I'm glad that it is, so let's talk about it. If at any time you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe, because you know I make videos like this all the time, and comment down below how you feel about the show. I have a feeling it's gonna be a little bit of a mixed bag, and we'll get into it. So let's jump into it. So the premise of this show is Wade, I almost called him Wade Wilson, and I'm like, no, that's Deadpool, honey. That's a whole nother thing that, like, I'll be here talking about it in the summer. Don't you worry when the new Deadpool movie comes out. Don't you worry. But Wade Whipple, that's his last name, still the double alliteration, huh? He is basically going through this whole trial thing with Knuckles, as Knuckles is like grandpa kind of like astral projects. Is his grandpa? Or is it his dad? I'm pretty sure it's his dad. No, it's his dad, because the whole thing is about daddy issues. Yes, right. So it's his dad, the chief of, like, the echidnas, right? And he comes down in, like, an astral projection type thing to tell Knuckles that he needs to, help Wade Whipple. When I tell you, this entire show just reads as a kid retelling a story that, like, definitely happened on the playground. That's what this is. And I think it kind of does it in a way that, like, I like. So the whole crux of this is that Knuckles is trying to teach Wade how to be a warrior, because Wade in the first two movies is kind of known as this, like, loser guy who isn't really cool or, like, warrior-like, as opposed to James Marsden's character, who is not in this at all, by the way. Like, the mom character, who I forgot her name. She was great. Oh god, the first episode. The domestic blitz. The first episode was so great because we got to see Sonic, Knuckles, Tails all be like brothers in the same household. It was so cute. Oh my god. But anyway, so yeah, in contrast to James Marsden's character, who's not in the show, he is... My laundry is done, so... But it's gonna have to wait. So this is a Wade journey via Knuckles, the strongest character in the series right now, helping the probably weakest character in the series right now. And I'll say, they did a really good job with the trailers, not showing us what this was gonna be about, because I thought it was gonna be about Knuckles leaving home on purpose to, like, try and find himself, but instead we got this, like, road trip buddy, like, cop adventure, even though they're not cops, but like this kind of that era of this buddy cop adventure that is like a comedy with the straight man and the goofy man, you know? So the whole thing, Wade becoming a warrior, has to do with the fact that he's in a bowling league, which I think is hilarious, because like it's like he does a sport, but the sport is bowling, so it's like funny because people probably don't consider bowling a sport, even though you do have to have like actual skill to do it, and it's competitive, which I think is what makes a sport. We're not going to get into the logistics of what is a sport right now, okay? But he doesn't get the last, like, pin to knock down, which becomes, like, a whole motif for, like, the rest of the, like, show. And the team that he was currently on, he gets kicked off, and this, like, little Girl Scout gets put in his place. It's weird, okay? It's weird. And so he wants to go to the finals of this tournament, because we find out a couple episodes later, but I'm gonna just say it now, that that Wade's father, who is estranged to him because he abandoned their family, like, when he was a child, is going to be at this bowling tournament because he's a really good bowler. So in theory, you would think that like, okay, so this is about like daddy issues, right? This is about family and finding a home and stuff like that, which they outright say in like the last episode, which I have no problems with. I know some people be like, oh, it's so heavy-handed. I'm like, it's a show for kids, okay? Like, it's okay that it's gonna be a little bit heavy-handed. But yeah, you would think that like this would be then Knuckles and Wade having this kind of like parallel storyline going on where Knuckles is also trying to figure out his home and Wade is also trying to figure out where he belongs and chasing after something that he probably shouldn't chase after, which is his estranged dad who left him and doesn't care about him. So don't worry though, we still have some Robotnik-esque things going on here, as there is a subsect of Gun, you know, the terrorists, shout out to them, who are going after Knuckles because the whole thing so far, the overarching kind of plot device in this movie franchise has been the quills that have come off of Sonic and I'm guessing also Tails, but mostly Sonic and Knuckles, and those quills can be used as like really big power like sources to power up like things like machines and weapons and things like that. So there is this dude who used to work for Robotnik, who doesn't anymore, who's like just makes weapons and stuff, and I don't know, his thing is not really clear other than the fact that he just wants to make weapons and become like a really big bad guy. And these two gun agents who are kind of going rogue and doing their own thing outside of like gun jurisdiction basically, and they're all going after Knuckles in this season to try and get his power because, you know, he's a big strong boy. He's a big strong boy. I think they do a really good job at keeping the villains very, very comical in this. I was almost afraid in the beginning that it would be way too serious, trying to juxtapose with the silliness that is Wade Whipple. I got Deadpool on the brain, I'm sorry y'all. And I'm glad that they did it. They are comical villains. This almost reads like a series or a series of episodes, just like one episode of like Knuckles. Like I recently did rewatch all of Sonic X. I know like none of y'all watched that video, that's fine, but like in that there were a couple of episodes like every season that were just dedicated to just Knuckles, except for the last season. But like there, you know, Knuckles goes to China, like stuff like that, and the entire episode is just about Knuckles, and it's crazy and it's wacky, and I almost feel like they took from Sonic X. Now I know they didn't, I know they couldn't have, okay, I know that they just did not even think about Sonic X, but to me, especially after having just watched those like episodes, it seems like almost like one in terms of how wacky and camp and just insane it is, because Knuckles reads as this like super serious character on paper, right? And then as soon as you get to know him, it's like he's silly, he doesn't really understand like social norms and customs and stuff like that of Earth, and going through that you have like hilarious hijinks, and they lean into that heavy in this show, heavy. But I feel like the amount of like campiness and like craziness and kookiness that was going on in this show leads itself to like a really good animated like plot line. Like I could see this plot line being in a couple episodes of a TV show, which I think is what they were going for, because that's how it felt like. Like I low-key felt like a kid sitting in my bed or like sitting on the couch watching TV, like, you know, Saturday morning cartoon type style. And I think if you go into it with that mindset, you can just chill and jive with it. That's how I felt about the movies as well. Like they're very much so supposed to be this like cute campy adventure, definitely like aged down, because I would say like Sonic nowadays is definitely trying to be a little bit more like aged up, especially with the games. And I would argue that like both the comics and now the like movies that have come up have been trying to like keep that like really young audience. So that all being said about what was like great about this show, let's talk about some things that I think people are gonna have a little bit of issues with it. And that's the fact that this is called Knuckles, and it's not really about Knuckles. Like I was fully expecting this to have like the kind of back and forth of like, you know, everything going on with Wade Whipple and his family and everything, and then we have Knuckles who's basically going through the same thing just in a different font. That is not at all what was happening in the show. I definitely do feel like people are gonna have an issue with the fact that Knuckles takes a large backseat for the sake of Wade in this. And I think there were multiple reasons for it. I'm not going to completely blame like CGI budget, because the CGI is great. And I do think that is something to consider when talking about this. The fact that the CGI, especially in a world where like a lot of movies that use CGI to the extent that like Sonic has to, which is like a lot, is that on top of like paying Idris Elba to be in this. I think like they ran out of money towards the end, and you can kind of tell because he's like in and out. They were like, okay, we got to save our money for like the last big fight to like animate that last really big fight that happens at like the last episode. So there's an entire episode 4, where he's just like not in it. He's in the beginning and he's in the end, and he's just kind of standing there, whereas like the entire episode is Wade going on this like mind adventure because he gets captured by the bounty hunters that are after them. Sorry, I forgot to mention there are bounty hunters after them. It's craziness. And he has to go through this like mental thing to figure out like where Knuckles' powers come from, and it's like, oh, it comes from the heart. He has warrior inside of his heart, not just like physically, and that helps him like defeat the like bounty hunter he's like facing off against. And that's where the rock opera thing comes in. And they were like, okay, we don't have that much money left in the budget. How do we sit here and tell the story without Knuckles being there? Easy. Rock opera. It's so funny and it's so camp, and I would like say you should watch the show just for that like scene alone. It is so fucking funny. I always say like with certain things you really got to go in with the mindset of it, and I don't think the Sonic movie franchise so far has ever been anything but really silly in camp. Like Dr. Eggman in this has definitely leaned more on the camp side. I talked about this in Sonic X as well. Like there are some iterations of Sonic that are like super serious, and Eggman is like a super serious threat and like an actual terrorist, whereas like in like Sonic X he's a little bit more silly and less serious, except for the last season. The last season is a completely different show in my opinion, and I think that this era of Sonic, or this version of Sonic, the Sonic movies, are definitely leaning more towards silly and campiness, so that wasn't like too far off. I also feel like they were kind of preparing us in a way for Sonic 3, and we'll get to that at the end. I'm actually like prepared today, guys. I don't have to go get water or anything. I'm gonna try to do a little thingy on my eyes. We'll see how that turns out. Hasn't been going very well for me lately, I'll say that. Makeup has been elusive. You can tell that like all of the actors, who did a phenomenal job by the way, had like fun filming this, and I have no doubt, especially the way that everybody was so enthusiastic about the Sonic 3 like announcement, and how even Idris was like super enthusiastic about it, because usually you can tell when an actor is like not really enthusiastic about the like the stuff that they're in, and everybody was like super enthusiastic about the show, about the new movie that's coming up. And so I think that like that is also important to take into consideration, is like this is a fun romp, and you kind of have to let yourself have fun. I know like especially on the internet we tend to like do these like big criticisms of like, oh, it was too kid-like, it was too not serious, and therefore it wasn't good. And to that I say, like, you just have to allow yourself to have fun. The second you allow yourself to have fun, this show becomes so good. It's so good. Not even like in a, oh, it's so bad that it's good way. Like, it genuinely, like, I could see myself putting this on in like the background while like doing like a deep clean of my house or something. Because even recently I like watched the movies again, and I was just like chilling. Like, I was literally just chilling. Like, I wasn't, like, too deep, like, oh, my God, the lore. Oh, my God, this, that, the third. I was literally just chilling. I was in my bed, having a good time. And I feel like that's what this show is as well. So I think without giving away too much of the story of what is there, Wade eventually meets up with his father in Reno. This whole thing about, like, going to Reno. It's so funny. There's this line. They've been, like, shitting on Reno the entire show. And, like, the line at the end, like in the last episode, one of the announcers of this like bowling tournament is just like, we're in Reno, it's Vegas for losers. I was like, if you live in Reno, like, let me know. Like, is it Vegas for losers? Like, what's going on? Could they not do Vegas? Was Vegas, like, too highbrow? And, like, I think the whole thing about this is that it's such a, like, side adventure, and they know it's a side adventure, so they treat it as such, and it's so funny, because everything is just kind of, like, very self-aware in the fact that it's kind of crazy, it's kind of stupid, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you just gotta roll with it. You just do. Eventually, the, like, bad guys catch up with, like, them and are fighting them. Wade's dad, who like Wade has like a reconnection with, and he takes advantage of that, turns them into these bad guys, and they then defeat the bad guys in a really cool way, which I don't want to like talk about, because that's another thing too. The fight choreography in this was so good. Like, that's how you know, like, there was still a lot of passion into this, even though they knew it was going to be crazy and kooky and silly and nonsensical. There was still so much passion put into like this show and like the production of the show, it's so good. Like the CGI is so good, the acting is really good, and the fight choreography is also really, really good. Which, like, you know, I go up to bat for like children's animation and things all the time. Like, just because it's like for kids doesn't mean that you can't put any effort into it. Doesn't mean that kids aren't going to appreciate the effort that you put into it. And the fact that they put so much effort into like something like a fight scene is kind of crazy to me. There's a lot of like high fidelity, like choreographed fight scenes in this, like Wade fighting against the like bounty hunter that like took him hostage and like whatever. It's just cool. It's just cool, and it's cute, and it's funny. But yeah, so I think people are going to be a little bit upset about the fact that like Knuckles isn't really in this. Like, he's not like fully a part of this world. It just seems like he was kind of like there to like coach Wade on. Like I said in the beginning, this feels like a kid retelling a story that is like mostly about them, but they're like, yeah, and then Superman came down and like helped me out. Like, yeah, my best friend Sonic. This is literally like that version. This is my best friend Knuckles came and helped me out, but really I'm the one who did the finishing blow, which he didn't. But like, you know, it just feels that way. Like, especially Wade being this like big kid and having like this big kid energy, it really feels like they were trying to show this as like, you know, he's a kid who like never grew up and he never got to have that like cool kid moment in all of his life, and now he gets to have that like cool kid moment. What are you doing, Miss Ma'am? Causing a ruckus? She's causing a ruckus. And so while, yeah, I can totally see why people would be then upset about the fact that this isn't about Knuckles. My one gripe about that is the fact that at the end, because the ending is so abrupt, I'm like, you can tell where the budget literally end, because it ends in a freeze frame and then that's it. And I was like, okay, maybe there's gonna be like some type of after credit scene where we talk about what happened and like kind of debrief. No, there was an after credit scene, like a mid credit scene, and it was just like them on the motorcycle, like laughing it up and talking to each other, but it wasn't really like about anything. Like, there was no conclusion to Knuckles' story, which bothers me. Personally, it bothers me that there was no like real conclusion to Knuckles and like his parallel story that he was having with Wade. Wade got a conclusion, but like Knuckles really didn't. And I would have liked to see something along the lines of like, hey, I realized, like he says like, oh, this is my family, but like we never get a conclusion like, is he going to stay with them? I'm assuming that Knuckles is going to stay with Wade's family because I don't think he's going to be in Sonic 3 because there's just way too much. 4 different like CGI animals that they, possibly more, because people were talking about Amy and possibly Rouge being in this. That's 4 minimum different like CGI animals that they would have to animate. I just don't think that was gonna happen. So this was like a very strategic and fun, cute, creative way to make sure that he's somewhere else so that he wouldn't be in Sonic 3. But still, I kind of wish that we got something along the lines of like him saying that like, I found my place on this planet, blah, blah, just a little wrap up, like a little exposition wrap up would be nice. We didn't get that, and it was just like, I understand you probably ran out of money, but like still, I feel like we could have maybe do a little voiceover. Was like Idris Elba that busy? You couldn't get him to do a little like voiceover thing? Like, I don't know. I don't know. All of that aside though, let's talk about how I think this relates and is priming us for Sonic 3. So as of recording, we haven't gotten a Sonic 3 trailer yet. People are saying June. I believe that we'll get one in June too. I think they're gonna wait for this to like simmer and sit for a little bit, or we could get it like next week. I don't know. Sometimes I like film stuff and then literally the next day something comes out about it. So I am thinking June, though I feel like it's gonna be June, because I'm like, they have to have like multiple trailers, so I'm assuming we'll get the first trailer, like the first real trailer, in like, or would it be a teaser trailer? I don't know. See, I don't know how this works. Anyway, the way I feel like this primed us for Sonic 3 is just how camp it is. Now, I don't think we're gonna have as like much like rock opera-ness or anything like that. I don't think that's gonna happen in Sonic 3. However, if you know anything about Shadow, you know anything about Shadow the Hedgehog, the game, or about Sonic Adventure 2, you know exactly how like insane camp it is. It is not like super serious in the slightest. It is one of the most like campiest games ever, and especially in the like the plot of it all. So I fully expect that they made this show, like the plot of the show and how like crazy it is, to just show that it's gonna get a little weird. It's gonna get a little weird. It's gonna get a little crazy, and we kind of need y'all to strap in. All right, this is like dipping your toes into the water a little bit. We're like, oh, here's something. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Again, I don't think there's gonna be anything on par with a rock opera. No, I don't think like Shadow, possibly Keanu Reeves, is gonna like bust out into song. No. However, I do think that they should give Shadow a gun. I am so serious about this. Make it PG-13. Give him a gun for like 5 minutes and have somebody be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, you're like 12, and then take the gun away from him. I think it would be funny. It would be a really funny gag, a really funny callback, and I think they should do it. And so I think this like whole show was kind of just a primer for that, to kind of get you in the mood, to get you in the like fun time, let's go have fun, this is gonna be really kooky and crazy type of mood. All right, because we all know Shadow lore. All right, it's a little it's a little sad, and I feel like we're also kind of toe the line between being sad with like his backstory and also the things that he's doing being absolutely crazy, because that's gonna be a really interesting balance to see between the actual backstory of Shadow coupled with Sonic, and especially this version of Sonic. I think is gonna be really, really interesting. So I feel like this was kind of prepping us for how kooky this might get, okay? And I think they also maybe wanted to say that maybe Sonic 3 might be a little bit more lighthearted than, you know, we're probably expecting, okay? Like, I'm not expecting some deep, edgy stuff, okay? This is still, like, a kid's movie, and in the vein of Sonic 1 and 2, I don't expect Sonic 3 to go full angst. I think there will be some angst. Oh, there will be some angst, but I don't expect it to go, like, full angst. Causing a ruckus. And amok! What are we doing? Running amok! Next. Knuckles being the Iblis trigger just casually dropped, so casually in fact that I missed it the first time, and then I saw it when I was on Tumblr and I was like, what? And then I had to go back and watch it, and yeah, he caused like the Iblis trigger to happen. And that's something like they know every little Easter egg that they put into the show, in the movies or anything. They know that Sonic fans are crazy and like know the lore like the back of their hand, and you can't just name drop a something just to name drop it, right? You can't just name drop like, oh, here's this Chaos Emerald, and then not have it actually be a Chaos Emerald. So you can't just name drop the Iblis trigger and then just be like, that was just a thing, that was just a tee-ha-ha thing, like, what if we put this thing called the Iblis trigger, because they've already made their own power system in this world with the little quills. That's not something that is, like, canon to any other Sonic universe. That is very unique to this universe. So why would you mention the Iblis trigger? Now, granted, they did say that this is their own universe and they're doing their own thing with it, but, like, why would you mention it? What's up with that? What? Like, I genuinely believe that we're being primed for something, and I'm kind of scared. I am. All right, well,
okay, so you can see that my makeup is like half done here. You can see the fact that I did not blend like the other side of my face. Maybe it's because I didn't see it, I don't know. I literally had like just woken up, and so my brain was like not all there. I was still in girl rot mode, okay? So let's all be nice. Let's all be nice about it. You see the vision. You see what is supposed to be. Just imagine that's like a blood spatter or something. I don't know. I'm probably making it worse by drawing attention to it. Okay, bye.
That's what I got for Knuckles, okay? It was a delightful show, honestly, that I think you just have to allow yourself to have fun. I saw somebody, an artist that I follow, talk about this show, and they said on like Instagram, they were like, y'all can't take the fun out of me. Like, you can't stop me from having fun, because you knew like how, I remember to close my mouth that time, how like people react when shows aren't like super serious, full of lore, and aren't like always like top. Sometimes something can just be cute and fun, and that's all it needs to be. And this was cute and fun to be. Listen. All right. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you did, you are a real one. Let me know down below how you felt about the show. I do think there needed to be a little bit more Knuckles in it, like story-wise. Like physically, there was a lot of Knuckles in it, but I think story-wise, there wasn't like a whole lot of Knuckles in it. I would like to see more parallel story with Wade's story going on with Knuckles, you know? And I think maybe for the sake of time, they didn't really get to do that. I still really enjoyed the story a lot. It was cute. It was funny. It was like genuinely funny. There were some annoying parts, but there wasn't like too much like, oh, pop culture reference, pop culture. There was a lot of pop culture references, but like not like, oh, Gen Z, we're trying to get Gen Z and Gen Alpha, pop culture reference, blah, blah, blah. Because I saw that in the trailer and I was like, but they didn't do that in the show. So I'm glad, because we can have some, just not a lot. So thank you so much for watching. And hey, if you want to come see me stream, I stream here on YouTube. I stream on YouTube, kind of, sometimes, sort of. I haven't streamed in a very long time, but the semester's almost over. And there's so many games that I want to stream without. I just started Stardew Valley for the first time, and I already have so many opinions about so many people in that game, so I would love to talk about it. There's a couple of other things I like really want to talk about that I might do like a live stream about and then turn it into a full video, because I've been consuming a lot lately. A lot lately. Thank you so much for all the love on my dungeon meshy video as well. I was not expecting that video to do as well as it did, so thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy our little yap sessions. Okay? The little yap sessions. Thank you. Alright, and I will see you in the next episode. Love and peace. Okay, why every time I start recording? Hello?